Barolo and Barbaresco are two of Italy's and the world's greatest red wines. Both of these are based on the grape Nebbiolo. They've become really collectible as Nebbiolo really shows a sense of place. There are a lot of different contours. Producers in Barolo and Barbaresco are really following the Burgundy model, and that's why these wines have soared in price, because they're delicious, they're age-worthy, and there's a limited quantity. These prices have been just soaring over recent years, which makes a lot of wine lovers sad. However, you can find value in Piemonte. Piemonte is so much more than Nebbiolo when it comes to red wine grapes. You have grapes like Freisa, Grignolino, Rucche, Barbera, Croatino, Bracchetto, and a lot more. Piedmont, or Piemonte in Italian, Italy. It's in the northwest corner of Italy. It's one of the greatest regions in the world for food and wine. It's home of the slow food movement. In Piemonte, of all the wines produced, there's the highest percentage of appellation wine, DOC or DOCG wines, than in any other region in Italy. It's because they care about quality. When it comes to finding good value for money wine, I love the rule of finding a great producer and then purchasing their entry-level wine, and that holds especially true in Piedmont. I've got 7 different wines here. All of them fall under $30, a couple of them in the teens, which is ridiculous value for money, especially considering now to get an entry-level Barolo Barbaresco, a good one, you're gonna look at 40, 50 bucks. It goes up to hundreds of dollars, even thousands of dollars. You look at wines like Monfortino, which goes for $1,000 a bottle, and that's even if you can find it. Okay, let's find some value. Got a new red wine glass today. This was a Christmas present to myself. This is the Riedel Pinot Noir Performance Glass. I love this glass. Tulip shape, has these weird little striations in it. Riedel claims that not only does it look cool, it also increases surface area, which increases the bouquet and the pleasure you get from drinking a wine. I used this glass a few months ago and I was hooked. I just got it, but I think it might be my new favorite glass. I'll leave a link in the description below. It's not cheap, but it is awesome to hold. This is the first video I'm shooting in the start of 2024. I'm excited. Let's start with wine number 1. These are not all the same grapes, the same varieties, but I thought, hey, I just blind taste them, see which ones I prefer. Number 1, light in color, maybe a tip-off, probably Nebbiolo, or it could be one of those unique red wine grapes I was talking about. This smells like Piemonte. Piedmont wines, for me, I think of dried cranberries, which I used to be addicted to when I was a kid. Sour cherry. A lot of people say they get hazelnut type flavors. I get more chestnut, maybe not necessarily hazelnuts. There are a lot of hazelnuts grown in Piemonte. This has sour cranberry. It's just a little bit floral. It's got a tiny bit of nuttiness. I definitely think this is Nebbiolo. This is not the most complex Nebbiolo in the world, but it smells really nice. Some of these value Nebbiolos that aren't Barolo Barbaresco can be delicious. They can be enjoyed younger because Nebbiolo is a tannic grape. This is Nebbiolo to a T. It doesn't have all the tar, the crushed rose petal, all the complexities really lent. There are some small tannins here that fill the mouth, but this is super enjoyable. It really has this cranberry juice aftertaste. I think it's super enjoyable. You get the taste of Piedmont. Let's move on to number 2. 2 looks a little darker, so tip off. Maybe it's not Nebbiolo, but we'll see. 2 is quite complex. Got a little barnyard. Sour cherry, the cranberries. This does have hazelnut. The nose on this is quite explosive. It's got like a tad bit of funk, which is fine. Piemonte borders France and Switzerland. There's a lot of French influence in the wines of Piemonte. They can be a little funky in a good way, which I like. Wow, a lot of sweet cherry. This is really complex. Incense. This, to me, really has the essence of what you want in a Piemonte red wine. I hope it's really good value for money. I think there's a lot of Barbera in it. I don't know if it's a blend or not, but to me, this is a fantastic wine. I'm looking forward to revealing it. Let's move on to number 3. I love the balance. Big, humongous, wide stand. The bowl is big. I mean, I like this glass a lot. I'll be probably using it a lot. Let's move on to 3. 3, lighter in color. Cranberry, sour cherry. This has like kind of a little hay component. This is a tad more complex than wine 1. I think 1 and 3 are Nebbiolos. This has a little bit of rose petal. This is really nice. This really has some nice tannins. It is like baby Barolo, baby Barbaresco. I think this is excellent, whatever 3 is. I can't wait for the reveal. That's gonna be a buy, buy, buy. Let's move on to number 4. 4, interesting nose. This smells like incense. By the way, I Coravin these wines. I knew what they were beforehand, but I had somebody mix them up for me. This to me really reminds me of the grape Grignolino, which is also in Piemonte, although I don't have a Grignolino here, so that's confusing to me. Incense, like a sour cherry. You do get a fresh cranberry, not dried cranberry smell. The incense, like a little bit of tree bark. Here's the thing when it comes to the wines from Piemonte, you have grapes like Nebbiolo, Grignolino, Rucche, Dolcetto. Those grapes can be pretty tannic. You're gonna want food with this. In Piemonte, there are a lot of long, slow cooked, stewed type meats, which I can imagine this is great with. I really like this wine. I think that for a lot of you, it's gonna be too tannic. Although Barolo and Barbaresco are really tannic wines. I remember I was drinking with some collectors once and they were all about Nebbiolo. They're like, man, if you like Nebbiolo, you gotta want the tannins. Number 5. 5 just smells silky. Black cherry, there's a bit of mocha. There's a little bit of mineral notes. This is like, to me, maybe a little bit of sour cherry. To me, I think this is Barbera because I think of those cherry, cranberry, mocha flavors you get with Barbera. Even sometimes those that don't have oak aging. Tannins are much softer, though they're there. Barbera has acidity. I think this is Barbera. And Barbera wines, they used to be kind of the workhorse, kind of the low quality grape there. But now, especially in recent decades, a lot of producers are making some very serious Barberas. It's a grape that I like. You have to tame it, though. I've had some Barberas. Sometimes it just have so much acidity, so much tartness that it rips enamel off your teeth. This does not. Very good Barbera, not the best one I've ever had, but very good. Number 6. Oh, 6 is pretty. Flowers, hazelnut. 6 is really pretty nose. There's like a combination of red raspberry, cranberry, sour cherry, along with the floor. This smells like Piemonte. It's clean, it's crispy. It's kind of similar to Wine 2, except Wine 2 had a touch of funk, if you like that. This is crispy, clean. This is so similar to number 2, I gotta go back real quick. 2 had funkiness, I just gotta decide which one I like more. I kinda like the funkiness in 2. Let's go on to the last one. Good classic wines, they all show the Piemontese flair. A lot of times with inexpensive red wines or more inexpensive red wines, they can be somewhat generic. I love in Piemonte, you still get that sense of the region. Let's move on to number 7. 7 definitely smells like a Barbera. It's darker in color. Black cherry. These wines are complex. You have to pay attention to them. Black cherry, mocha, cranberry. This has fresh rose petal smell. A little bit of sand even. Some good wines, complex wines, but they're not just fruity, straightforward. These have nuances. They have complexities. You ready for the reveal? Okay, we have some value here. Let's start out with number 1. I think it's Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo to a T. The cranberry comes out. It's got a cranberry juice aftertaste. Not the most complex Nebbiolo in the world, but this is Nebbiolo light. It's not as tannic, so I think a lot of you are going to be able to enjoy it. Let's take a look. Let's see. I think that this is Nebbiolo. I gave it 88 points. 88 points. This is the Produttore del Barbaresco Langhe Nebbiolo 2022. This is 28 bucks. I've scored this wine higher in the past. Fresh wine, I'm quite surprised. Sometimes I've scored this wine super high. I remember buying this even 5 years ago in Europe for about 8-9 euros. Produttore del Barbaresco is one of the greatest cooperatives in the world, in my opinion. In Barbaresco, they make a lot of single vineyard Nebbiolos. Langhe Nebbiolo is the more affordable one. You'll also see Nebbiolo de Alba, which is more close to a baby Barolo, baby Barbaresco. I think this is good, 88 points. This age is pretty nice. I'm surprised. I thought it would score a little bit higher, but hey, that's what blind tasting's all about. Let's go on to 5 and 7 here. I've scored them both 89 points. Number 5 I thought was Barbera to a T. Had the mocha, some black cherry, but also cranberry type flavors. I think this is going to be a crowd favorite. I think 5 and 7 are wines that really a lot of people are going to be able to enjoy. I gave it 89 points. I think it's Barbera d'Alba or something like that. Let's take a look. This is a Barbera. This is the Vinchio Vaglio Serra. This is the Vigne Vecchie 50-year-old vines, I think. Barbera d'Asti 2021. This comes in at 16 bucks for an 89 point wine. This is also a an excellent cooperative in Piemonte. Maybe not as heralded as Produttori Barbaresco, but I think they make fantastic wines at great price points. 16 bucks. I think this is a crowd favorite. Every time I bring Barbera to a crowd, people love it. You have Barbera d'Asti, Barbera d'Alba, and in those appellations, you have Barbera d'Asta Superiore. You also have Barbera d'Alba Superiore. In my opinion, I find the ones in Barbera d'Asti to have a little more acidity. Sometimes the Barbera d'Albas are a little bit bigger. 89 points. I think that's a heck of a buy. Let's go on to number 7. Also tied. Had similar flavors, but had rose petal, sand type notes. The nose was incredibly complex. The palate, I wanted a little bit more length, but I think this is a wine that's also a crowd pleaser, something that you're going to enjoy. Let's take a look. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go again. This is this is Giacomo Fenocchio. This is the Langhe Freisa 2021. This comes in at 24 bucks. What? Freisa is usually a grape that's blended into a lot of Langhe Rossos. You don't see a ton of it labeled as a varietal wine. Giacomo Fenocchio is a very good producer, and I'm impressed. This is a very friendly wine. Freisa is one of those wild card grape varieties I did stick in this tasting. I also like the grape Grignolino, although I don't have one here. There's also a grape called Ruche that has more intense incense notes that I tend to not like. Another cool thing, I love all these bottles in Piemonte. You're going to see the Elbesa. These bottles are like a halfway, it's almost if the Bordeaux bottle and the Burgundy bottle had a baby. That's what you would get. It's not as squat and round at the bottom as a Burgundy bottle, but the shoulders aren't quite as high as a Bordeaux bottle. These are a group of producers that were started a long time ago in Piedmont to make sure that the wines separated themselves on the shelves. You'll see a lot of Barolos, Barbarescos, Barberas, all these Langhes labeled like that. This is the type of wine I would love to bring to a Wine Geek tasting. Say, have you ever tasted Freisa? And then break it out. That's cool. Okay, I have 2 tied at 90. I have an easy drinking one, and I have a more complex one, one that's more difficult, more Wine Geek type wine. Let's start with number 6. Crispy, clean, delicious. This really smelled like Piemonte. I really compared it to number 2. I really like those wines. They're quite similar. 2 is a little funky. This is a little cleaner. You're still going to get those beautiful cranberry notes, rose petal, things that you like in Piemonte. I think this is clean. I think this is fruity. This is a little bit easier to drink for most people. 90 points. Let's take a look. This is consistently one of the best values in Piemonte. This is the GD Vajra. This is the Langhe Rosso 2021. Nebbiolo, Barbera, Dolcetto, and Freisa. 16 bucks. This is a killer wine. I've drank it a lot before. Every time I give it to somebody, they absolutely love it. GD Vajra is a family-owned producer, but they produce a good volume of wine. It's one of these producers of Barolo you're actually going to be able to find. Fantastic wine, 16 bucks. I cannot harp on this enough as a value buy. Has Dolcetto in it. I don't have a single varietal Dolcetto. It's not my favorite grape in the world, but a lot of people do like it, and they do drink it a lot in Piemonte. Let's go on to number 4, also tied for 90 points. I went back and forth, but if it's going to be 89, 90, had this tree bark incense. It was long tannic. I thought this might be the Freisa, actually. This is a wine I'm going to give 90, but a lot of you, I think, are not going to enjoy because the tannins are so strong. I think, man, this wine has a future in the medium term, 90 points. This is the most distinctive out of all these wines. This kind of tree barky type note with the incense. Let's take a look. This is the Giacomo Fenocchio Langhe Nebbiolo 2022. This comes in at 26 bucks. This is a unique, complex expression of Langhe Nebbiolo. Again, 26 bucks with the price of Barolo going up, 90-point wine. I think is very good. You're gonna want to have some stewed meat with that. Number 2, it was funky, had some incense, it was long, it was delicious. It was really similar to the GD Vajra, except the GD Vajra was a lot cleaner. I think this just had a touch more funk, which I personally liked. It was long, delicious. I gave it 90 plus points. I think it's a blend. Let's take a look. It is. This is the Paul Bolke Piemonte Rosso 2017, a blend of Nebbiolo, Freisa, Barbera. I think it's got some Caratina in it, 28 bucks. The only thing is, I think you can only get this in Europe. Paul Bolke is a guy I know. He's a wine writer. He's produced wines in other people's cellars, made a blend out of this. I think this is good. Very good, 2017. I know it was a warmer vintage in Piemonte. I love it. Just of note, this is a Piemonte Rosso. Piemonte Rosso, the DOC, it encompasses almost all of Piemonte, a big region, whereas Langhe Rosso is a smaller area, although they're similar permitted grape varieties. This showed really well, Paul, if you're watching. Really nice. I just wish that was more widely available. The top wine, Rose Petal, Complex, Sour Cranberry, Sour Cherry. I said when I was tasting it, this is definitely Baby Barolo, Baby Barbaresco. I think this is outstanding. I gave it 91 points. I think it's delicious. Let's take a look. This is the Monchiero Langhe Nebbiolo 2021. This comes in at 24 bucks. Fantastic producer that's kind of off the radar. $24, you're gonna get a Baby Barolo, Baby Barbaresco. Outstanding wine, Monchiero. Kudos to you. So tell me, do you love Barolo, Barbaresco? Do you love some of the other unique varieties in Piemonte? I'd love to hear. Drop it in the comments below.